Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Davenport High School for tonight's contest between the Ridge Community Bolts and your Davenport Broncos. Ladies and gentlemen, please pay attention to the field as we have a very special pregame ceremony this evening. Tonight we are celebrating the 50th anniversary of Title IX being signed into law by President Richard Nixon. On June 23, 1972, this bill became a law that equalized education in the United States. These 37 words changed everything. No person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination any undereducation program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. In the year 1966, only 16,000 females participated in college athletics. By 1979, only 7% of high school varsity athletes were female. By 2001, 150,000 women competed in collegiate athletics, and in 2015, female participation in high school athletics increased for the 29th year in a row and set an all-time record of 3.2 million female athletes. Tonight, Davenport High School would like to recognize and celebrate these 50 years of Title IX. The Broncos soccer team has a record of 10-3-1 in their first year, an amazing accomplishment that deserves to be recognized as an incredible feat from a first-year program. These ladies have come together to create a special atmosphere here in Bronco country, and we are proud of you all. On and off the field, they are posting the highest team GPA so far in our school with over a 3.5 GPA. A special thank you to our coaches for leading our Lady Broncos. Our opponents tonight have had tremendous success as a soccer program. The Bolts have earned 2 district titles and have made it to the regional semifinals last year. Coach Nixon has amassed an overall record of 168 wins, 58 losses, and 17 ties. She has led these young women to an amazing record so far this year. Tonight, we have had each student athlete from each team sign a game ball to be presented to our guest of honor. Now, this guest of honor is no stranger to female athletics and has been a part of athletics since the very first time in first grade, when she started playing Little League Baseball as a catcher because none of the boys wanted to her. In junior high, she began playing basketball and continued playing all 4 years, as well as playing golf, a sport she still loves today. She competed in lacrosse at the collegiate level as well. In 1995 and 1996, she was the conference golf coach of the year for the state of Indiana and was runner-up in 1999 and 2000 at the Women's Interclub Championship in Indiana, while becoming the champion in 2002. In 2003, she was the conference basketball coach of the year as well. After moving to the state of Florida, she continued her teaching career at Ridge Community High School, where Principal Sherry Wells convinced her to coach the golf teams. In 2006-2007, she became the first coach in school history to win the championship. She did so in the sport she loves, golf. She was named Teacher of the Year at Ridge Community High School in 2012. She then left the classroom to become Dean of Students and the Athletic Director. At that time, Polk County had only 2 other female athletes out of 17 schools. Dan Talbot, Polk County Athletic Director, has this to say: Angie has proven to be a valuable asset and role model for Polk County athletics. She was a 3-sport high school, attended college on an athletic scholarship, was a teacher, coach, Teacher of the Year, Athletic Director, Assistant Principal, and now the Principal of Ridge Community High School. Pam Lancaster, the Athletic Director of Auburndale High School, added, Throughout Angie Clark's career, she has been the epitome of what a strong female leader looks like. She has been an awesome role model when she was a teacher, coach, athletic director, administrator, and now as principal of one of our largest high schools in Polk County. Her dedication to her students is second to none. Thank you for all that you do and will continue to do as an educator. I am glad I had the chance to work with Angie years ago as a fellow athletic director. Keep up the great work, Angie. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Broncos and women everywhere, we honor Miss Angela Clark as our first honoree for the 50th year celebration of Title IX. And now, ladies and gentlemen, your starting lineups for tonight's game. First, for the visiting Lady Bolts of Ridge Community High School. Number 9, Reagan Adams. Number 1, Yonaris Perez. Number 3, Jessica Gomes. Number 4, Jamie White. Number 5, Olivia Nixon. Number 6, Crystal Carrito. Number 9, Elle Sullivan. Number 8, Brianna Brundy. Number 9, Perla Cauldron. Number 12, Gabriela Ramirez. Number 13, Tegan Wellborn. Number 14, Noemi Kask. Number 15, Emma Sullivan. Number 16, Megan Ronis. Number 17, Molly Martin. Number 18, Sophia Salas. Number 19, Veronica Pagan Ramirez. Number 20, Aaliyah Montrose. Number 21, Soraya Romo. Number 22, Desireth Duarte. Number 23, Jasmine Vega. The Bolts are coached by head coach Nick Nixon and assistant coach Nick Bailey and Jamie Patron. And now, your starting lineups for your Davenport Broncos. Number 2, Caroline Schrodingberger. Number 4, Yasani Della Rosa. Number 5, Kayla Ozero Montez. Number 6, Akemi Ortiz. Number 7, Roxana Valadares. Number 8, Gabrielle Pina. Number 9, Chloe King. Number 10, Gianna Stathakis. Number 11, Samantha Sharp. Number 12, Abigail Tomlinson. Number 13, Andrea Aponte. Number 14, Casey McNulty. Number 15, Sophia Burgos Soto. Number 16, Alana Rudnick. Number 18, Ayana Vargas. Number 19, Marisol Ann Helder. Number 20, Angela. And finally, number 21, Riley Francesca. Broncos are coached by Aaron Keene and Stephen Waring.
And what an awesome pregame ceremony that was. Once again, greetings, fans. Welcome to tonight's Broncos Broadcasting Girls Soccer Contest between the 10-3-1 Davenport Broncos and the 14-1-3 Ridge Community Bolts. And tonight we are celebrating 50 years of Title IX. I'm John Shigaris, thank you for joining us wherever you may be tonight. The Broncos are looking to stop their biggest slide of the season after losing 3 of their last 4 games. Broncos were last in action last night against the Fort Meade Miners. Broncos were led by freshman Marisol and Helder, who scored both of the Broncos' goals. Alana Rudnick made 16 saves, but it was not enough as Audrey Slater scored 6 goals for the Miner en route to their 7-2 victory. Ridge is coming off of their first loss of the season yesterday when they hosted George Jenkins last night. Seniors Jamie White and Brianna Brundy for the Bolts each had a goal, but the Bolts fell in penalty kicks 5-3, giving the win to George Jenkins. The Bolts are led by 2 of their seniors who we just mentioned from scoring goals last night. Jamie White currently has 22 goals with 13 assists on the year, while Brianna Bundy is tied with junior Noemi Kaskik, who each have 26 goals. Against common opponents, the Broncos are 2-1. They defeated Haines City by a score of 7-1 and Kathleen by a score of 8-0. The only loss of the season came against Fort Meade, which was last night with that 7-2 game. Ridge is 3-0 against common opponents, racking up victories against Haines City by a score of 11-1, Kathleen 8-0, and Fort Meade 9-1. As we look around the 4A District 7 divisional standings, by percentage points, Horizon is in first place with a 9-1-1 record. Davenport is in second with their 10-3-1 record, followed by McKeel Academy at 6-7-2, Mulberry at 5-6-1, Lake Buena Vista at 10-6-2, Lake Region at 2-7-2, and then finally Tenorock at 2-11-1. As we get ready for this opening kickoff between the Broncos and Bolts, these schools are just right down the road from one another. Both of these teams, both of these fans know each other extremely well. So many of these players have played together as well. So the Bolts play in the 6A Division 7 division, a division they lead with their 4-1-3 record. Harmony is in second place with a 7-5-1 record, followed by Poinciana at 5-8-1, St. Cloud at 3-7, and Liberty at 1-10 as the kickoff has come off. In local action tonight, starting at 6:30, Liberty travels to Haines City, Discovery travels to Lake Region, and Fort Meade hosts Mulberry. And we are underway here in the opening minutes of tonight's contest. So an amazing pregame ceremony honoring Title IX, and Title I has meant so much to athletics over the year. Bolts back in action, coming down that near sideline. Broncos trying to clear it as we go under 39 minutes to go. Broncos definitely looking to try to take some early momentum. Fighting for possession of the ball on that far sideline. Bolts will go ahead. They will throw it in. Bolts with their first scoring opportunity. That one is going to go to the right of the goal. So the Bolts are in white. They are shooting to the goal on the left. Broncos in the home black. They will be shooting to the goal on the right. Broncos waiting to kick this ball back off. 38-13 to go. We are scoreless here in Davenport. Much warmer contest temperature-wise, and that's going to be blocked away by the Broncos. Broncos, again, have started up with this 4-woman wall, which they were able to work to an abundance during the closing minutes of yesterday's game. Ball is kicked down that far sideline. Ridge knocks it back in. And the throw in taking by Ridge. Ridge will kick that right back up the field. So both teams looking to get that first goal tonight. Both teams coming off of a loss last night. Again, the first loss of the season for the Lady Bolts. Coming in penalty kicks last night against George Jenkins. Broncos end up throwing that ball in down the near sideline, but it's going to end up being Ridge's ball. As Ridge gets ready to throw it in, 36:40 to go. Down that near sideline, Ridge does have numbers. Quick pass down that near wing. And there's going to be an offsides called on the Bolts. Huge break for the Broncos. 36:26 to go. Broncos looking to kick it away, and they do down this near sideline. And just like that, the Bolts try to return it, but that one is going to go out. Broncos will end up taking possession of this game back. 36 minutes and change to go here in the first half. Broncos boot the ball downfield, but Ridge is able to come up with it. Quick pass back to their goalie, Reagan Adams, and Bolts begin the attack. Bolts coming down that far sideline, right into the wall of Broncos players, knocking it the other way toward midfield. Bolts regrouping as they start to come down that right-hand side of the field, that far side of the field. That is where Fort Meade was able to work magic against the Broncos last night. And Heller is instantly checked away, and the Bolts are starting to come down with the ball again. Another scoring opportunity is going to be knocked away by the Broncos. Second chance opportunity taken away by the Broncos. Bolts cutting back in. That shot is going to go. Off of that crossbar. So still scoreless, 34:48 to go. Broncos kick the ball up that far sideline. Instantly taken back by the Bolts. Bolts with another sky, and that one is going to go to the right of the goal. $34:20 to go now as Valadares takes the ball back for the Broncos. Gives it over to Anhelder, and Marisol will start to juggle the ball down that near sideline as she plants the ball toward the top of the box, getting ready for the kickoff as we approach the 34-minute mark. Ridge currently in a 3-4-3 formation. Ball is kicked toward the middle of the field. Ridge comes up with it. Ridge with the attack coming down that far sideline. That shot is going to go up and over the goal. 34-30, so the Broncos fend off yet another attack. As Anhelder gets ready to kick the ball off again. Marisol scoring both of the Broncos' goals last night. Broncos try to make it up that far sideline. Bolts kick it right back down the field. So with both of these teams having games last night, conditioning is going to play a huge role in tonight's game. Scramble for the ball coming down that far sideline, down toward the corner. The ball is going to end up being kicked out of bounds. 32:40 to go here in the opening half. John Shigaris here on the Broncos Broadcasting Network. We thank you for joining us wherever you may be. Plenty of action so far here, and we have plenty of action over on our sister network, the NFHS Network. That is where you can catch every Broncos home and away game. At 8 o'clock tonight, you can switch over to that network, and you can see coverage of tonight's boys basketball game. They will also be your stop for tomorrow night's boys basketball game. We will be back here on the Broncos Broadcasting Network Friday night, boys soccer against Tenor Rock. Eisenhelder boots the ball down that near sideline, and it's going to go out of bounds. 31:50 to go now here in the opening half. So scoreless so far, both defenses showing up big tonight. So far, Valadares has been tested for the Broncos, and she has had a couple of amazing saves from Bolt's kicks. She's able to scoop that one up. 31:20 to go now here in the opening half. So Valadares definitely wanting to get some of these shots at her now to go ahead and get warmed up and adjusted to being back in the goal after Rudnick has been in goal the last few games. Ball kicked back to Adams. She is the keeper for the Bolts. That ball will be taken out of bounds down that far sideline. 30:50 to go now, as we are still scoreless here at Davenport High School. Last regular season game on the docket for both of these teams. And it seems to be something with these two teams meeting for the final game of the season in other sports. You may remember the last football game of the season here on this very field, the boys took on Ridge. Much better weather conditions today as rain shortened that game to 1/2. And again, a battle for the ball. Takes it down that far sideline. Bolts boots it, but that one is going to go out of bounds as we approach the 30-minute mark here in the opening half. Broncos go ahead and throw it in from that far sideline. Broncos trying to penetrate that box, but to no avail. Broncos are able to steal that pass, starting to make their way down. Broncos thought they had an opening on that near side, but Bolts try to clear it down, and the Broncos kick it right back downfield. So the Broncos coming out with an energy they have not had the last few games, and it is definitely good to see. Definitely something the Broncos are going to need tonight against Ridge. And a midfield collision, and we do have a whistle as we go under 29:20 to go. Broncos will go ahead. They will kick that ball up. That is Casey Minalti to do the honors for the Broncos. A booming kick. One bounced right to the goalie, Adams, for the Lady Bolts. So Minalti continuing to show the leg that she has. With that kick covering half of the distance of the field. Ball is loose down that near sideline. And Bolts are now starting to make their way down. They do have numbers. They do have the opening, and that pass just goes a little awry down that near sideline. Broncos are on top of it right now to stop the imminent threat. Great juggling, and that shot is going to go to the left of the goal. So the Broncos' defense tonight is outstanding. That shot was by Noemi Kasik. Marisol and Helder will once again position the ball. She'll get ready to boot the ball downfield as we approach the 28-minute mark. Still scoreless in Davenport. She has Sammy Sharp waiting for her on the near sideline. Elects to go toward the center of the field. Broncos trying to kick it up, but the Bolts again boot it right back in. Now, this is defensive coverage the Broncos have not had their last few games. We've seen more of a relaxed defense tonight. Anytime a Bolt player does have the ball, we are seeing a swarm of Bronco players. We are seeing 2 to 3 Broncos capitalizing on top of that ball. So Broncos definitely coming out with an energy tonight. So Broncos make their way up that near sideline, knocked out of bounds by the Bolts. 27 minutes and change to go here in the opening half. Again, last regular season games for both of these teams. Both teams toward the top of their respective divisions as we start talking about playoffs, which will begin in a matter of days. Bolts will go ahead. They will throw it in on the near sideline, just shy of midfield. Throwing comes down that near sideline. Broncos are all over it. And again, the Broncos now with this sea of black surrounding the ball. Definitely an intensity they have not had in their last few games. And again, it is good to see. But just like that, the Bolts are driving down that far sideline. Broncos knock it away. Broncos' intensity is definitely showing on their defense. And as we've talked over the last few broadcasts, good defense will lead to good offense. Just over 26 minutes to go as Helder boots it down that far sideline. The scramble for the ball continues as the ball is advanced out of bounds down that far sideline. Again, how much stamina do these teams have? Both teams playing full games last night. Bolts going off into penalty kicks. So conditioning will be a factor in tonight's game. When it comes to that, the Broncos do have a fresh goalie in Valadares in goal. Bolts to throw it in on that far sideline right by the Broncos bench. That shot is going to be tipped away. Valadares with the tip. Bolts are now coming down on the near sideline looking for another scoring chance. But again, Broncos with this double teaming the ball. Shot, and that one is going to go in on that far corner. The Bolts are now up by a score of 1-0. So when you keep peppering a goalie, you know eventually that ball is going to find its way in. Under 25 minutes to go, Bolts leading this one by a score of 1-0. But if you're the Broncos, you can absolutely take a lot from these first 5 minutes, where their defense has been great. They have been able to stop the Bolts. They've held the Bolts now to 1 goal in these first 5 minutes. So start to play off of your strengths and continue to build as this game goes on. Ball is going to be kicked out of bounds on the near sideline. Broncos will throw it in. 24:30 to go. Throwing toward the top of the box. Broncos again trying to get possession. That ball is going to get kicked on that near sideline. And that ball is going to be thrown in by Ridge. Broncos instantly head it back toward midfield. Ridge now coming down that near sideline, and that shot is going to go to the left of the net. Valadares is going to come out to scoop it up. 23:50 to go. Valadares bringing it down toward midfield. And just like that, the Bolts returning serve. Another scoring opportunity, but the Broncos are there to knock that ball away. Ferocious defense by the Broncos tonight, going against one of the better teams, not only in Florida, but nationwide. And the Broncos, being this young team, are showing so far that they can hang with the Bolts. Hopefully they are able to keep this momentum and everything throughout this game. That kick is going to be booted down the far sideline as we go under 23 minutes to go. Bolts again coming down on the attack. That shot is going to go to the right of the goal. 22:40 to play now here in the opening half. And Ridge will go ahead. They will set up for a corner kick as we approach the 22-minute mark. We get closer and closer to that 20-minute water break timeout. That corner kick is up, originally deflected by the Broncos. Ball is still loose, and that one is going to get kicked up and over the net, right through the uprights. No points for that one. Broncos will get the ball, 22 minutes to go. Valadares gets the ball, pass it down that far sideline, getting ready to set up the Broncos for this kickoff. Kickoff goes down that far side, knocked down by the Bolts. Broncos able to regain possession to advance the ball up the field. As we approach midfield, Bolts trying to knock it back down. Here come the Broncos with the kick down that near sideline. Coming all the way out of the goal is Adams for the Bolts to make sure that ball is knocked away. So we're seeing Adams being one of those goalies who definitely is not afraid to leave the creature comfort of the confines of her net, which has been the story recently for Broncos opponents, with the opponent keepers coming way out of the net. And that one is going to go up and over Adams' head, and the Broncos score, and they have tied this up by a score of 1-1 as Adams just went ahead and misjudged that kick. Just like that, we are tied in Davenport. Here, there's that Shigeris Jinx singing the praises of Adams, and she just completely misplays that one. So the Bolts will go ahead. They will kick it away. 20:48 to go as we approach that 20-minute water break timeout. Broncos are going to go ahead. They'll kick that away, but Bolts will go ahead. They will continue the attack. That one is going to get kicked out of bounds to the left of the goal. 20:34 to go here in the opening half. We are now tied at 1. Broncos with a newfound energy in this game as the Bolts go ahead. They kick that right out of bounds on the near sideline. 20:15 to go now. Broncos to throw it in on the near sideline. Taken away by the Bolts, but right into a wall of Broncos players. And we will go ahead and they will call the 20-minute water break timeout. So we will step away here on the Broncos Broadcasting Network. We are tied up at 1. Broncos 1, Bolts 1. We'll be right back. As we come out of the 20-minute water break timeout, 19:47 to go here in the opening half. Broncos and the Bolts are tied up at 1 here with the cross-team rivals. Davenport Broncos playing in Davenport. Ridge, their high school is in Haines City, but it is just over that Davenport-Haines City line. So these two teams, these two fans know each other very well, as this rivalry has been established in many different sports throughout this year. Ball is going to go out of bounds. The Bolts will throw it in. 19:30 to go now here in the opening half. Broncos defense trying to swarm this ball. Again, anytime a Ridge player comes close, there were 2, if not 3 Broncos all over the ball, which is exactly what the Broncos have done at the beginning of this year when they had all of that success. That ball is going to get scooped up by Valadares. Valadares will boot it toward the middle of the field. Broncos will go ahead. They were advanced possession down that left-hand side, which is the far side as you look at the field. As we see it is both the press box and our cameras and your view at home. Again, Broncos in the home black. They are shooting to the goal on the right. Ridge Community Bolts, they are in the visiting white. They are shooting to the goal on our left. Both of these teams definitely in playoff contention when it comes for postseason play. The Broncos at 10-3-1. Ridge coming in at 14-1-3. That ball is going to sail out of bounds on the near sideline. Broncos will get the ball as we approach the 18-minute mark. Throwing toward midfield, that ball is popped up. Broncos trying to get beyond this wall. Ridge with the experience as they have played together for a while. Having that senior leadership, 2 of their 3 leading scorers being seniors. One thing we've talked about all year, Davenport High School, first year this school has been in existence, they do not have senior leadership on these teams. There's only one senior quarterback for the Davenport Broncos, who's now the starting center on the boys basketball team in Brindley Vanderveer. And again, over on FSHSnetwork.com, you can catch that boys basketball game. Varsity scheduled to tip off tonight at 8 o'clock. Bolts fighting with Broncos for possession as that ball gets kicked up midfield. Bolts now trying to get a run, kick it down that far sideline, looking for a lane. Centering pass is going to go wide. Bolts had an opportunity there, but just a miscue on the pass in the fight for the ball. Bolts able to come on in. That centering pass is going to be shot, and that's going to get caught by Valadares as it is already out of bounds. 16:50 to go. And that is going to set up a corner kick for the Bolts. Broncos have their wall set up. The corner kick is up. Ball is still loose. Header turned away by the Broncos at first, the opportunity, and now the Broncos will look to clear it. And that ball is going to get kicked well to the left of the goal as we approach the 16-minute mark. We are tied at 1 between the Davenport Broncos and the Ridge Community Bolts. Marisol Heller will get the ball for the Broncos. Plants her ball at the top of the box, looking towards Sammy Sharp on the near sideline. And we have a few substitutions. Broncos making 2 substitutions. Ridge originally had 1. 2 more coming in. Ridge will make 3 substitutions here as we approach the 15:40 mark. Tied up at 1. So whether she stays up or not, currently Reagan Adams, the goalie for the Bolts, is playing well out of the goal. Broncos have it down that near sideline. Kick it toward midfield as the Bolts try to keep possession in. Quick throw in. Broncos again kick it out of bounds as we approach the 15-minute mark. Bolts on their third throw in just a matter of moments. This one is going to be battled down into the corner. Broncos using their fancy footwork to try to advance the ball. Bolts trying to get it closer and closer to the goal. Broncos looking for the clear. Still fighting for possession on that near sideline. Quick shot is going to be caught by Valadez, and the Bolts have that ball, and that is going to go to the right of the net. So huge break for the Broncos as Valadez went out to play the ball. Bolts did get a shot off to no avail. 14:20 to go now. We are still tied at 1. And that is that defense of the Broncos starting to click in this game. The defense was strong at the beginning of the year. Last few games, there has been some injuries. They've been moving players around, trying to get some different lines. And tonight, things starting to click for the Broncos. Broncos boot it down that far sideline. Bolts wasting no time getting it right back into the zone, but again, met with this wall of Broncos. Not able to get past. Broncos trying to fight and advance that ball. We have a whistle on the play. 13:38 to go here in the first half. We are tied up at 1. Ridge getting ready to kick it. Has a wall of Broncos players. That's going to be knocked away by Valadez and will instantly be kicked to the right of the goal. Bolts fight to keep that possession inside the field. And they're not able to, so the Broncos will go ahead. They will kick it off. 13 minutes to go. So another scoring threat batted away by the Broncos. And Helder boots it down that far sideline. But again, Bolts all over that, trying to bring it downfield. But again, this wall by the Broncos has held strong. Broncos now moving it down that far sideline. Broncos had numbers for a moment as the Bolts kick it right back down the zone. As we approach the 12-minute mark. Bolts now coming down that far sideline. That was the Broncos' weak side last night. And great defense by the Broncos again, knocking that ball away. Valadez again making her way out of the net. And the Broncos just able to fight that ball away. Excellent job by the Broncos. Defense definitely showing up tonight. Which will set up a corner kick for the Bolts. 11:40 to go here in the opening half. Broncos have their wall set up. Bolts trying to obstruct Valadez's vision as much as they can. Corner kick goes up. Bolts do have possession with it. As the Bolts try to fight it toward midfield, Broncos end up knocking it upfield. So another huge defensive stand by the Broncos. And again, it is that old adage we have talked about a number of times today. A great defense can lead to great offense. It could definitely be that pick-me-up the Broncos have needed after losing 3 of their last 4 games, including their last 2 games here at home. Ball is pounded down that far sideline. Bolts trying to get back in. Again, we have a scramble for the ball. Nip and tuck, back and forth we go. 10:40 to go. Bolts again breaking the pressure. And that ball is going to sail to the left-hand side of the goal. Is it going to stay in bounds? It is not. So Broncos again able to save off another offensive attack by the Bolts. Broncos set up on the near side of the box. Bolts setting up in a 2-5-2 defensive set as they come out of this play. Broncos do have some light on the near sideline as the Bolts are playing more toward midfield. That ball is kicked right to the Bolts, and Broncos looking to answer. Broncos looking for offense coming down that near sideline. Quickly knocked away by the Bolts. Broncos trying to keep that ball inbounds. They cannot. Bolts looking for the throw-in. Bolts starting to pick up the pressure now and the tempo. That rolling kick is going to get caught by Valadares. So we talked to that stamina might be an issue in this game. Both teams coming out like houses of fire. Broncos with a booming kick downfield, getting the ball down in the opposite end. Here come the Bolts. Bolts fighting down that far sideline. Valadares again coming out of the net area to come up with that save. Valadares has looked incredible in net tonight. Broncos now fighting for possession down that far sideline. So far, possession has been in favor of the Bolts, but the defense for the Broncos has been incredible tonight, which is definitely something Broncos fans are wanting to see. Broncos boot that down toward the right of the net, and Adams is going to come way out of the net to scoop it up for the Bolts. As we approach the 8-minute mark, we are tied at 1. Bolts now making their way down this near sideline. Broncos have it, and they will knock it out of bounds as we go under 8 minutes to go. Bolts wasting no time throwing the ball in and continuing the attack, trying to catch the Broncos on the back of their feet. Valadares comes out. That one's going to go off of the goalpost, and another opportunity for Ridge is not able to amount in points. Broncos end up getting this ball back as we approach the 7.5-minute mark to go here in the opening half. Broncos and Bolts in this incredible game so far. Definitely what all of these fans have turned out to see. One of the better soccer crowds on this season for the Broncos. Broncos have it down the near sideline. Sammy Sharp did have it, instantly taken away by the Bolts. Bolts now crashing into the net, and that ball is going to get deflected away by the Broncos. Second chance opportunity is going to get scooped up by Valadares. As we are now under 7 minutes to play. Valadares with the high kick. One bounce and a header, and the Bolts will start making their way down that far sideline, which was a weakness for the Broncos last night. They seem to have shored it up tonight. Nice deflection by the Broncos. Another booming kick, and that one is going to get knocked away by Valadares, and she will end up scooping it out. Looked up instantly, had a Ridge player right in front of her, but wasting no time making sure she did not leave that area unless she had the ball in her possession. Great goalkeeping work tonight by her. Bolts are now making their way down that far sideline. Under 6 minutes to go now. Bolts with the shot, and that one is going to go in. And just like that, it is now 2-1 Bolts. 5:48 to go here in the first half. So when you have that many shots going on goal, they are bound to start to fall. But again, nothing against this Broncos defense, which has looked awesome so far this game. Broncos making some substitutions. They are looking to kick off. Broncos looking to get an offensive stand as they come down this near sideline. Arid pass, and Ridge is going to come up with it. That is Adams again coming way out of the net. With the old baseball player to scoop it up, making sure her knee was down so that ball would not go past her. Any baseball coaches watching would love that type of fundamental catch. 5:15 to go as the Bolts again make their way down that far sideline. Quickly deflected away by the Broncos as that ball approaches midfield. And we have a whistle on the play. 5 minutes to go here in the opening half. Bolts leading the Broncos by a score of 2-1. And Helder looking to kick the ball away for the Broncos. Kick is taken down that near sideline right by the Bolts. Bolts on another attack. Coming down that far sideline. Now have a lane. Taken away by Helder, and the Broncos are starting to go the other way. So again, defense coming up for the Broncos again. We'll see if this defense can start to turn into some offense for them, as the Broncos have been playing defense a lot so far tonight. As we approach the 4-minute mark, Bolts throw the ball in. Ball is loose, and Bolts start to take it deeper and deeper into the zone. Broncos looking to clear. Fancy footwork toward the middle of the field. Toward midfield now. Broncos trying to bust through. They do not have numbers. They have 3 women versus the 5 for the Bolts. And just like that, it is quickly cleared by the Bolts. Bolts with numbers, and they used it to their advantage to quickly stop any Bronco attack. 3 minutes, 20 seconds now as that ball is out of bounds on the far sideline. Bolts to throw it in. Broncos had it, knocked it away, and now here comes another scoring threat. Broncos able to try to knock it away. Second chance opportunity by the Bolts, making their way toward the left-hand side. Now down toward the corner. Broncos trying to use that sideline as extra defenders. Quick juggling down. That centering pass is up, shot, and that one is going to go in. And just like that, Ridge is now up by a score of 3-1. Great passing with Ridge, not giving up on that effort. As Broncos getting ready to kick it away. That goal was by Jamie White, one of the leading scorers for the Bolts. As I now take a 3-1 lead, 2:42 to play here in the opening half. Broncos kick it back, and away we go. As we approach stoppage time, again, fans, if you are new to our broadcast, once it is at the 2-minute mark, this clock will stop. We are aware the clock has stopped at 2 minutes as we continue to get tweets, emails, comments on it right here through dhsbbn.com. So yes, at that 2-minute mark, that clock will freeze and the stoppage time will begin, and the referees on the field will take the time into their own possession. As the Bolts keep fighting, coming down that far sideline. Broncos advancing up. And right on cue, there's the 2 minutes. The clock is frozen as that ball goes out of bounds. Quickly thrown in by the Bolts as they try to come across down that far sideline. Quickly stopped by the Broncos. And that ball is going to go into the right-hand side of the net. No good. Broncos will get possession. 3-1. Bolts leading this one. It looks like it did go out on the Broncos, so the Bolts will get another corner kick. Yet to connect with points coming off the corner kick tonight. Bolts packing it in toward the goal. Corner kick is up. That header is going to go up and over the net. That one will not go for points. Still 3-1. So the Bolts have had a number of opportunities tonight, but have only put 3 points on the scoreboard. Marisol and Helder getting ready to boot the ball away for the Broncos. Broncos making some last-second substitution as we go into the closing moments of this first half. And Helder will boot that ball down. Broncos now making their way upfield. Broncos do have numbers. They are now coming down this right-hand side, down this near side of the field. Looking for an opening, looking for the slot. Bolts are able to kick that away upfield. Bolts now on the attack. They do have numbers as they come down that far slide. Valadares has it in her sights. Quick shot and score by the Bolts. And just like that, it is now 4-1. And that is Jamie White with her second goal in just a matter of moments. So Broncos will look to kick off in the final moments of this first half. Ridge has come alive with a few goals for the last few minutes. Broncos with a booting shot quickly returned by the Bolts. And we will have whistles on the field to indicate the end of the first half. So at halftime, your score, the Ridge Community Bolts 4, the Davenport Broncos 1. 10-minute halftime will begin. We'll be right back here on the Broncos Broadcasting Network. As we come out of halftime, your score at halftime. The Lady Bolts of Ridge Community High School 4, your Davenport Broncos 1. John Chigueras here on the Broncos Broadcasting Network. We thank you for joining us tonight. Number of games taking place here at Davenport High. Let's take a look at your upcoming calendar. If you go ahead at the conclusion of this game, if you flip over onto the NFHS network, you have the boys varsity basketball team. They face Frostproof. Tomorrow, boys basketball faces New Dimension, and that game also on the NFHS network. Junior varsity tipping off at 6:30, varsity tipping off at 8. And then we are back here on Friday night as boys soccer takes on Tenor Rock. That one will be live here on the Broncos Broadcasting Network. Kickoff of that game is at 7 o'clock. So at halftime, we have switch ends. Ridge Community Bolts in the white. They are now shooting toward the goal on the right. Davenport Broncos in the black. They'll be shooting to the goal on the left as Ridge is now coming down that far sideline with another attack. That shot is going to be knocked away by Valadair. Second chance opportunity does not go. So Broncos defense being tested early on here in the second half. Broncos defense has looked good today, with the exception of the final minutes of that opening half. But so far, the Broncos have held up with the Bolts, staying with them every step of the game. The only difference is the Bolts has kept the ball deep into the Broncos zone, has just been peppering shots at Valadairs. Broncos in this half are going to look to try to break out of that pressure and start to get shots on goal on Adams. Broncos now making their way down that far sideline. Bolts quickly come up with it. Broncos trying to apply some pressure as the Bolts start making their way right back up this near sideline. 38.5 to play. And Helder tries to boot it away for the Broncos, but it keeps going deeper and deeper into the zone. Centering pass is going to get knocked away. Broncos will get possession of the ball. Broncos trailing the Bolts by a score of 4-1. And Helder will now take the ball on the near sideline, or rather the near side of the box, and she gets ready to boot it away as we go under 38 minutes to play. Coming down that near sideline, Sammy Sharp tries to fight with it, but the Bolts will get possession and they will throw it in. Header by the Broncos goes right back out of bounds. Bolts will throw it right back in. One thing with the Bolts is they don't waste any time. This entire club knows exactly what plays are going to be run well ahead of time. So they can literally get the ball, throw it in, get the ball, throw it in, get the ball, throw it in, to the point that they can all read each other's minds and know exactly what is going to happen, what formation they want. That ball is going to sail downfield. Broncos trying to get some offense out of it. That ball is going to be taken away by the Bolts. That is Jamie White, one of the leading scorers for the Bolts. She has 2 goals on the game. Bolts now from the top of the key, coming down that near sideline. That one is going to find its way out of bounds. 36:40 to go here in the second half. Valadairs rolls the ball toward an Helder. And Marisol will go ahead, and she will once again boot this ball away. Ridge is expecting the ball to get booted toward the near sideline, and that is where a majority of their players are standing and prepped and ready to go. Broncos making 2 substitutions before the kick. Here comes the kick. That one's going to go toward midfield, and that one's going to bounce toward the other side of the field. Bolts back to recover. Broncos trying to come up with another attack. Here come the Bolts on that near sideline, trying to get past this Broncos wall. Valadiers will go ahead. She will scoop it up again using that baseball type catch with the knee down, making sure that soccer ball does not go by her. Bolts kicking it right back in as we approach 35 and a half to go here in the ball game. Broncos trying to get something going here on the near sideline, but White drives by one player. She gets by two. That centering pass. It's going to go in shot, and that one's going to go into the side of the net. Bolts will go ahead, and they will go with a kick in. Again, at the current moment, we are experiencing some audio issues. We apologize for any audio issues here on the Broncos Broadcasting Network. Bolts now going for the corner kick. Quick possession, and that one is going to sneak by the Broncos for a goal. And just like that, Ridge is now on top by a score of 5-1. First time they have connected on a corner kick tonight. So Broncos will go ahead. They will kick it off from midfield. And Broncos do kick it back. 34-30 to go. Broncos coming down that far sideline, instantly taken away by the Bolts. Bolts looking for an attack again, now coming down that far sideline. Bolts this year, they do know how to score goals in bunches. And it seems like that is happening every game the Bolts have played. As soon as they score one, here come a couple of more just within the next few kicks and the next few moments. Broncos now with the ball down that far sideline, quickly cleared by the Bolts. So Broncos having the opportunity there. Broncos booting it back downfield. And that ball will get kicked back to Adams with the booming kick by the Bolts. That ball thrown in by the Bolts on that far sideline. 33 and a half to go in the ball game. Making their way upfield, Bolts on another attack, trying to get through this wall of Broncos players. Broncos denied the first time, and that one is going to end up out of bounds. Bolts leading the Broncos currently by a score of 5-1. As we await some substitutions by the Broncos and the Bolts. Broncos throw it in toward midfield. Bolts now coming down on another attack. Valadior's making her way out of the net to go ahead and scoop up that ball. Coming down to the Bolts now again on an attack. Coming down that far sideline. And that one is going to go out of bounds. As we approach 32 minutes to play. Ball is in almost Plinko in effect off of a number of players. Cleats before it once again goes out of bounds as we are now under 32 minutes to play. Broncos trailing the Bolts by a score of 5-1. Bolts with a throw-in on that far sideline. Again, trying to get through this Broncos defense. The wall has been fortified and the Bolts have not been able to get through on this possession. This ball continues to go in. Broncos knock it out of bounds. In. Broncos knock it out of bounds. In. Broncos knock it out of bounds. So Broncos defense again coming up big in this game. Broncos making some substitutions as we approach the 31-minute mark. Throw-in is going to be taken possession-wise by the Bolts. Bolts trying to cause pressure, but the Broncos with a booming kick downfield. Marisol and Helder with that booming kick there. Broncos trying to come down that far sideline, but it is going to go out of bounds. Bolts to throw it in. Again, the Bolts wasting no time getting the ball, not looking around. They know exactly where that ball is going to go. Breakaway opportunity for the Bolts, 2-on-none. That one is going to find the back of the net. That is Jamie White again, and just like that, it is a 6-1 ball game, 30-37 to go. So we said when the Bolts start to score, they do score in bunches. It is now a 5-goal lead by the Bolts. 30 minutes, 37 seconds to go. Broncos looking to kick it away. And Bolts instantly coming down on a rush, looking to continue this offensive fury that they have developed in this game. Ball toward the center of the field, now kicked up that far sideline. Bolts are now coming down again. 30-20 to go here in the ball game. Bolts looking for that another scoring opportunity. Broncos are able to kick it upfield. Looking for an opportunity of their own coming down in the far slot. And that one is going to get scooped up by Adams before any damage can be done by the Broncos. So the Bolts instantly able to shut down an offensive attack by Davenport. Bolts storming down the field again. Valadors is going to come way out of the net to scoop that one up as we go under 30 minutes to play here in the ball game. Valadors boots it toward midfield. Race toward the near sideline. That one is going to end up going out of bounds. Bolts will throw it right in. When there are times the Bolts have taken a few seconds to wait plant before throwing it in. Broncos setting up the defense. Ball gets thrown right on in on that near sideline. Broncos trying to clear it out as that one again will go out of bounds. Ridge wasting no time to throw it in as we approach the 29-minute mark. Broncos will head that ball out of bounds. Ridge looking for players to get open closer to that net. Throwing on the near sideline. Down toward the goal, Broncos trying for the clear. Bolts try to knock it back in. Broncos looking to clear again. Here come the Bolts again for another attack, another attempt at a clear, and again the Bolts are going to keep knocking it back in. Broncos now getting the ball past midfield. That one is going to end up going out of bounds. It will be Bolts ball, 28-20 to go. As the Bolts continue on their attack. And Helder fighting with White toward the near sideline. And that ball goes out of bounds yet again. Bolts will go to throw it in as we go under 28 minutes to go. Looked like it was going to be a centering pass, but that one's going to be fought by the Broncos. Broncos will take possession on that near sideline. Bolts fight to get it back. Drive inning centering pass. Shot, and that is going to go off of the top of the net. That one is not going to go. 27:35 to go. Bolts leading this one by a score of 6-1 as we approach that 20-minute water break timeout. Broncos with a booming kick downfield. Ridge back to gain possession. Coming back on the near sideline. That's Molly Martin coming down. Quick juggling move, that centering pass is going to be deflected by the Broncos, and Valaders will go ahead and she will scoop it up. 27 minutes to go here in the second half. Bolts leading the Broncos by a score of 6-1. Valadares with the booming kick as fight for possession down that near sideline goes out of bounds. Bolts will get the ball. They will look to quickly throw it in. Well, not so much as we have some substitutions. Bolts making one substitution. Broncos will be swapping out 2 members of their club. So typically the last home game of a season, and this is the last Broncos soccer home game of the year, typically in high school sports is senior night. But as we talked about toward the beginning of the broadcast, Davenport High School being a brand new school, no seniors on this club. Only one athlete is a senior in this entire school. That is Brindley Vanderveer, and that centering pass is going to go wide toward the left of the net as we go under 26 minutes to go. Vanderveer being the quarterback for the Broncos and the starting center on the Broncos men's basketball team. And again, that varsity game will tip off at the top of the hour over on NFHSnetwork.com. That is your official source for Broncos games home and away. Broncos with that booming kick toward the center of the field. Bolts back to get possession. They will kick it back to Adams, and she will boot it down this near sideline. Race for the ball is won by the Bolts as they continue to make their way up this near side of the field. That one's going to get knocked out of bounds by Ann Helder. So Ridge will look to throw it in as we approach the 25-minute mark. Bolts looking to kick it in. Broncos setting up their wall. 8 Broncos across. The ball is going to go up, and Valadares tried to come up with it. That ball is loose, and that's going to be another goal by Ridge. And just like that, it is now 7-1. Ridge now with a 6-goal advantage. So again, we continue to see Ridge scoring these goals in bunches. 24-32 now to go here in the second half. Oh, we thought it was a goal, but the Broncos just went ahead and kicked it out, so it looks like that was not a goal. We'll go ahead. We will get further clarification on that as the clock has stopped. We'll look for that clock to go ahead and resume at 24-32. Possession being fought down that far sideline. Currently, scoreboard is showing 7-1, but it looks like that goal will be coming off of the board, and it would actually be 6-1. And our scoreboard has been updated with that. It is 6-1. Ridge will now have this ball looking to kick it down. 23:50 to go now. Ball is kicked down, and that one is going to be saved by Adams. Adams coming up with a huge save by the Bolts. Booming kick, and the Bolts are going to start their attack. Coming down that near sideline. Bolts having the opportunity. The breakaway shot. What a save by Valadares. Second shot opportunity is going to go up and over the net. So Valadares is able to squash another opportunity by the Bolts. Broncos defense coming up strong as we approach the 23-minute mark. So we've gone ahead. We have gotten an update on that non-goal as the Bolts were called for an offsides. That one took the points off of the board for Ridge. So as we currently stand, it is 6-1 in Ridge's favor. Some substitutions are made. And another substitution coming in for Davenport as we head toward the 22-minute mark. Broncos booted away toward the middle of the field, but Ridge comes up with it, now coming down that near sideline. Centering pass, that breakaway is going to be knocked away by Valadares. Excellent save as we go under 22 minutes. Fancy footwork by White as she makes her way in. Bolts continuing to make their way down the field. That shot toward the net is going to be knocked out of bounds. 21:35 to go here in the second half. Again, a 5-point lead by the Bolts. It's going to be a corner kick for Ridge. Ridge did come up on one of their last corner kicks as the Broncos start to build that wall. For the Broncos, two things. You want to build that wall, but make sure that Valadares does still have a view of the ball. And that one is going to get knocked toward the right of the goal as we go under 21 minutes to play as we keep getting closer and closer to that 20-minute water break. Broncos looking to boot it downfield, and they do. Working on the near sideline. Broncos opting to go back before they go forward, and the Bolts are all over that. Bolts applying pressure coming down that far sideline as we approach the 20-minute mark. Pass toward that far sideline is going to be knocked away by the Broncos. Race for the ball coming down that near sideline is won by the Bolts. And Helder continue to fight for it, looking for a call to no avail. Bolts will end up getting the ball back. 20 minutes and 5 seconds to go as we approach that water break timeout. That ball is going to get knocked out of bounds. Broncos looking to throw it in, but we will go ahead and pause for the water break timeout. So you're breaking the action at 19:56. The Ridge Community Bolts 6, Davenport Broncos 1. We'll be right back. As we come out of the 20-minute water break timeout, 19:56 to go on the clock. Ridge Community Bolt 6, Davenport Broncos 1 in the last home regular season soccer game for the Davenport Girls Broncos, Lady Broncos, this season. It has been a year of firsts at Davenport High School. Many memories have been made. Many memories will be continued to be made. We thank all those fans that have come out to support the Lady Broncos this year, either here through the streams or here in the stands. It is appreciated by these girls more than you will ever know. Ridge coming down with another attack, coming down the near sideline. Looking for the centering pass. That one's going to go awry. Second shot back. That one's going to be scooped up by Valadares. 19:20 to go here in the second half. Valadares boots it toward midfield, and that one's going to be headed and knocked back in by the Bolts. Bolts coming down with another opportunity. They do have number. They do have the advantage. That one's going to be blocked away by the Broncos. Huge defensive stop. Broncos now looking to clear. Bolts go ahead. They pound it right back into that wall. Broncos knocking it away. And again, Broncos knocking it away. Broncos defense coming up big here on the back end of this 20-minute water break timeout. That's going to be bouncing, and Valadares is going to come out of the net to go ahead and scoop it up for Davenport. High kick. And Bolts looking to recover possession. They do, coming down that far sideline. 18:25 to go. After an exchange, Bolts continuing to come in, starting to come at this Broncos wall. Broncos wall holding strong, looking to clear that ball. That one will go out of bounds on the far sideline. 18:09 to go. As we have another scramble for the ball at midfield, we will have a whistle on that one as we are under 18 minutes now. Referees having a discussion with a few players. We'll look to see where this ball gets placed and which team will end up with the ball. Players starting to make their way down the field, so it looks like it will be Broncos ball as the Broncos looking to advance on an offensive attack. Booming kick toward the far end of the field. Broncos now on a scoring opportunity. Sliding tackle knocked away by the Bolts. Broncos still trying to press in. Bolts looking to clear. Broncos trying not to be denied, but that'll be Adams who will go ahead and scoop it up for the Bolts. Adams taking a few seconds, making sure Bolts go ahead and move away before she clears the ball. Under 17 to play now. Bolts starting to come up that far sideline. Pass toward the top of the box. Broncos try to boot it away, try to clear that ball. Bolts firing right back in. Bolts with a shot on the goal. Valadares knocks it away again, and that one is going to go in. No doubt about that one. That one will not be called offsides. It is now 7-1, 16:21 to go here in the second half. So the Bolts definitely not giving up on any opportunity, getting that second, third, fourth opportunity. Capitalizing on the Broncos failing to get the ball out of the zone. Broncos will go ahead. They will kick it off. 16-17 to go now. Booming kick toward the center of the field. Broncos now on an attack. Bolts did have numbers quickly swarming for Bolts around and held her. And that ball will go out of bounds as we go under 16 minutes to go. Bolts leading this one by 6. Again, the ball having issues staying in bounds. Again, kicked out of bounds. Bolts will now take it. They will throw it in on that far sideline. Bolts look to advance the ball. Broncos end up knocking that one out of bounds as we approach the 15-minute mark. Bolts will go ahead. They will throw it in at midfield on the far sideline. Bolts seeming to cheat in, trying to get closer to that net. Another attack is underway, coming down the near sideline. That right-hand side of the field is one that Davenport has had issues with guarding the last few games. Valadares comes up, gets that ball, bounced in front of her, and then she was able to scoop it. Valadares coming up with the defensive grab. Ridge trying to boom it back in, but Davenport will start to advance the ball up the near side of the field. 14:40 to go in the ball game. That one's going to get knocked out of bounds. Broncos will throw it in. Ridge coming down that near sideline. Broncos trying to advance the ball up the field. They do. Broncos actually have numbers, but Adams is going to come up, and that's going to be a trip from behind. As the full moon, that blood moon, begins to rise in the distance. That's the only thing Ridge could have done in that situation. As we go under 14 minutes. So we'll see how that call develops. Substitutions being made by Ridge. 3 different Bolts entering the game. So it looks like it's going to be Casey Minalty who will be booming the ball back in for the Broncos. Ball at about the 25-yard line if you have the football yardage marked. Six Bolts forming a wall. You have 4 Broncos down there trying to get through. As we go under 13 to play. Bolts leading this one by a score of 7-1. It is now a 5-woman wall for the Bolts. As referees have a discussion, 12:36, the clock has stopped for the moment. Referees will go ahead. They will replant the ball. McNulty getting ready to kick it away. Bolts forming that wall while at the same time trying to make sure that Adams, their goalie, gets a good view of the kick. Kick is up, and that one is going to sail to the right and high. McNulty not able to drill that one in. Still 7-1 in favor of the Bolts. Bolts will take possession back. As we approach the 12-minute mark now. Broncos with the kick, and Adams is able to scoop that one up. 11:40 to go now. Booming kick by the Bolts. Broncos trying to keep the offensive pressure alive. Bolts come up with it now, back on their side of the field. They do have numbers. Quick juggling act. That ball is going to get through the wall. Valadares is coming up. That ball is still loose, and that one is going to find the back of the net. 11:10 to go in this ball game. It is now an 8-1 lead by the Bolts. And now we start to get into that 8-goal situation. Should a game end up having an 8-goal lead in the second half, it would be a mercy rule situation. The Bolts are 1 goal away from making that happen. 11:08 to go here in this game. As the Broncos are getting ready to kick the ball off. And the Bolts will go ahead. They will make a goalie change as Reagan Adams will go ahead. She will come off the field. Her last regular season game as a Bolt. Of course, the Bolts will be going into the playoffs. Bolts now trying to take it downfield, down that far sideline. 10:52 to go. Bolts continue to try to add pressure. Broncos trying to get the offensive working. Trying to get the ball on the other side of the field. Bolts coming down again. Quick centering pass. Valadares is making her way up, and that ball is going to go out of bounds toward the left of the goal. 10:25 to go. Bolts leading this one by 7. So the Bolts will set up for a corner kick. They have been successful on 2 of these corner kick opportunities tonight. This one is up, and that one is going to get knocked away by the Broncos. And Helder quickly racing to the ball. That one is going to get knocked out of bounds. 9:48 to go here in the ball game. The Bolts will throw it in from the near sideline. A few Bolts cheating in closer and closer to that net. And Helder ends up getting that ball, and it will be taken right out of bounds as we approach the 9-minute mark in the ball game. Bolts with the throwing now. That header will go back out of bounds. So again, the Broncos defense now on these throw-ins, making sure that nothing develops. Bolts deciding to try someone new to throw it in. That will be White. She throws it in, and that ball skips toward the front of the net. Broncos looking to clear. Broncos now racing up that far side of the field. 8:50 to go. Broncos again clearing up. They are going to have numbers. Broncos on the breakaway. Shot is going to be denied by the Bolts. We're told that is Jasmine Vega, who has now come in to play goal for the Bolts. And Vega instantly greeted with the first shot coming her way. So any yips she might have, we're taken care of with that first shot. Broncos now trying to recover, trying to drive down that far sideline. As we go under 8 minutes to play now. Broncos setting up as we have some substitutions coming out. Broncos with a kick down that far sideline, gets it to the other side of the field. Broncos starting to work. That one is going to end up out of bounds as we approach the 7-minute mark. Broncos making a line change of their own. Broncos trying to come down that far sideline. Under 7 to play now. Broncos getting into that box. And that one is going to be taken out of bounds. 6:45 to go here in the ball game. Broncos to throw it in from that far sideline. Trying to inch closer and closer to the goal. First, he knocked away by the Bolts. Broncos kick it right back down into the zone. And Bolts respond by once again clearing that ball. Bolts trying to make their way up that near side. Broncos recovering. Now coming down. Broncos did have numbers, but will be stopped and knocked out of bounds as we go under 6 minutes. Ridge leading this one 8-1. Again, at the conclusion of this game, if you head over to nfhsnetwork.com, you can catch the tip-off of boys basketball going against Frostproof. Boys basketball looking to expand upon their winning streak. Last time the guys were at home was that half-court prayer that landed by Butler against Discovery just over a week ago. So Broncos boys basketball, trying to keep that advantage going. Lady Broncos looking to kick this ball off as we approach the 5-minute mark. Kick is up toward the goal, and that one is going to, after a quick jostling, the Broncos are going to end up scoring. It is now a 6-goal game, rather. It is now 8-2. So Broncos having success against Jasmine Vega, the sophomore goalkeeper for Ridge that just came into the game. And how often does that happen when you come into a game, the ball finds its way toward you? Ridge goes ahead, they kick it off. We are under 5 minutes in this 6-goal game. Booming kick down that far sideline. Broncos returning it. And that one is going to go out on the far sideline by Ridge's bench. Ridge wasting no time, throwing it right back into the field. Broncos trying to look to attack down that far sideline again. Looking for numbers, but Ridge knocks it away back on the other side of the field. Battle for the ball come the near side. Broncos will come down that near side. That's Marisol and Helder. She sees opening in front of her. She drives by one defender. Toward the center of the box, she juggles through. That shot is going to be deflected away by the Bolts. But the Broncos still with prime possession in this offensive zone. Bolts trying to clear it out, and they do. And Helder with some amazing footwork as she made her way up the field. Valadares has that one knocked away, and Ridge will end up scoring there. And just like that, it is 9-2 back to that 7-goal situation. Valadares coming out of the goal, trying to make magic happen, but the Bolts just going right around. Broncos making substitutions. As the moon starts to get higher in the distance. Broncos trying to get past this wall of Bolts defenders. Whistle on the play. Bolts will go ahead. They will get possession. Under 3.5 to go. Booming kick right down the center of the field. Bolts trying to storm back. Here come the Broncos with the ball coming down that near sideline. Again, another booming kick by the Bolts. Saved by the Broncos. That one is going to go out of bounds on Helder. And Bolts to throw it in. And Helder turns around and look what she finds, riding time for the ball to kick it right down the field. Bolts now kicking it. That ball is going to go back. Valadares is going to go ahead. She will go to her left toward the right of the net. She scoops it up as we approach the 2-minute mark and as we approach stoppage time. Bolts with the ball, trying to lead the attack, coming down the near sideline now. Broncos surrounding, again, and Helder looking for a call. Broncos will get the ball. They will throw it in. And there will be a whistle to stop play as the Broncos make some substitutions. As we approach that 2-minute mark, Ridge with a 7-goal lead, currently leading the Broncos by a score of 9-2. Again, we thank you for joining us here on this Wednesday night. We know you have many places where you can get your entertainment, and we are honored that you have decided to spend some of your precious time with us. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts for spending your Wednesday night with us here at Davenport High School. That ball is going to go out of bounds, and Ridge will once again lead this attack. Stoppage time up by 7. Coming down on the near side, again knocked out of bounds by the Broncos. Ridge wasting no time, and that throw is just going to be a little short. Broncos able to knock it away and down. Ridge continuing to fight their way toward the goal. That centering pass is going to be knocked away by the Broncos. Ridge trying to make their way in. That booming kick, Valadares knocks it down, comes out of the net, tries to scramble back, and that one is going to go toward the right of the goal. So Bolts trying to capitalize there. Broncos able to knock it away. And Helder will go back to boot the ball away for the Broncos. Again, we are in stoppage time. Officials will determine how much time they're adding back on. That ball is kicked. The wall by the Bolts knocks it back in. Now over the wall. Broncos now trying to run an attack, coming down that far sideline. But the Bolts are all over it to smother it and kick it out of bounds. Broncos will be looking to throw it in from that far sideline. And they do, as that ball is starting to make its way down toward the corner. Bolts do have possession of it. But there's going to be a whistle on the play. Looks like it might have been offsides by the Broncos as the Bolts throw it in. Broncos getting ready to go off of the kick. Booming kick is down toward the net, and that one is going to get knocked toward the right of the net by Vega. So Vega able to deflect that one. So set up a corner kick for the Broncos on the far sideline. Broncos is starting to press in toward this goal. Looking to get their 3rd goal of the night here in stoppage time. Corner kick is up, and that one is going to go over everyone. And that one is going to find the near sideline, and that is going to be your ball game. Your final score, the Ridge Community Bolts 9, Davenport Broncos 2. Your executive producers of the Broncos Broadcasting Network, myself, John Shigaris, James Rose, Alan Duget, and Mel Gables. Again, we thank you for joining us tonight. From all of us here at the Broncos Broadcasting Network, thank you for joining us. From Davenport.